Hey, everybody, and welcome to Angel Meadows. I am your host, Mama D, and the conversation with friends tonight is my new friend, Paul Jacobs. Been following Paul around on Facebook. I've been trolling Paul on Facebook, to be honest, okay, because I love what he does. I love him as a person. I've been watching, and people have been giving me good information about him. So, hey, Paul, thanks for accepting to be on this crazy mess that I call my show.
Well, pleasure. Thanks for inviting me and asking me to share with you and your listeners.
Okay, we're going to just tell everybody to refresh because those who were in the chat room before the show started don't get to hear us. So I'm just telling them all to refresh. Okay, while we're still recording, so while everybody's doing what they got to do, you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself? For those, which is probably very few, but for those of you who don't know Paul, here we go.
Okay, I'm a spiritual medium and been demonstrating mediumship professionally for 28 years and teaching mediumship professionally for 28 years. I was working part-time with mediumship for a couple of years besides my everyday job. I was training and developing mediumship under the direction of the great Gordon Higginson for about 5 years. Before that, my life is basically mediumship and understanding the philosophy and the message behind the message that comes through the communication and the evidence of the eternal soul and the spirit world.
Well, that's quick, which is good. Short and sweet.
That's me.
Exactly.
If I can say something in 5 words rather than 20, I do.
Just remember, Paul, we got a 2-hour show, so you don't have to be short and sweet. But no, when was now I did a bit of research, Facebook trolling, so I know a little bit about you. So I'm going to just ask the questions for everybody else. When was the first time that you connected with spirit outside of Gordon?
Outside of Gordon, well. Really, no. When I look back and speak to my mother, I really had experiences when I was a child at various points, but I didn't realise what it was. My parents would tell me I was dreaming or it was my imagination.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I was around 13, 14 years of age, attending the Catholic Church, I started having objective spiritual visions, in a way a little bit mystical. And at that time, being a Catholic, I thought it was God telling me that I'd got to be a priest, which of course wasn't. But I understood the meaning of those experiences now. And then in my late teens, I lived in several places which were old property and had experiences of spirit people, but again, still not realizing it was me as a medium. I just thought the places were haunted and they were ghosts.
Okay.
And it got to a point then when it started happening again in my early 20s, and it was quite intense. And one particular afternoon, I was walking down this particular road in the town I lived in, and I'd been down that road many times, and all of a sudden I stopped and looked at this building with the lights and people going in, and it said Spiritualist Church. So I thought, I wonder what goes on in there, and I went into the building and sat there and didn't know what was going to happen. And anyway, two ladies came onto the platform, and the one lady, I thought, I recognise this lady from somewhere. And halfway, it was a demonstration of mediumship, and halfway through, she came to me and gave me a contact. And then she said to me all of a sudden, she says, I know you. And I said, yes, I think you do. I said, I'm not too sure where from. And then she said to me, you're Alfie's son. And I said, yes. And she said, well, it's not fair for me to carry on because I know you. I'll speak to you afterwards. And the medium taking that demonstration was my father's aunt, my great aunt. And so I continued to go for 5, 6, 7 weeks and began to question, is this really for me? The I was listening to, the quality of what I was listening to, I thought, no, it's a little bit rubbishy. I don't think it's for me. And then this great aunt rang me and said, I'm going to Longton Church on Sunday, Gordon Higginson's church. Would you like to come with me? The name of Gordon Higginson meant nothing to me. For those who don't know him, he is the greatest medium of the day, modern day times. And so I said, yes, I'll come. And I got introduced to him, just said hello to him. And I just knew there and then, for some reason, that we were going to be connected and become friends.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 weeks later, my great aunt died, and he took the funeral service, and I arrived 2 hours early, even though I only lived 10 minutes away down the road. And Gordon Higginson was already sitting in his car in the car park and invited me over to sit and join him in the car. And he turned around to me and said, I can help you, young man. And that was the beginning of the journey, even though I still doubted. I still didn't see that I was a medium. I would get messages often of other mediums saying, one day you'll be doing this, and I thought they needed the men in the white coats to take them away. But then after listening to Gordon Higginson at the church and one or two well-known mediums of the day, I thought, yes, there is something in this, because the quality of what I was listening was outstanding. And then I had my very first contact in a demonstration from Gordon Higginson that really gave me the sort of evidence I was looking for.
Okay.
So I decided then to book to go to the Arthur Finn College, really not because I wanted to be a medium, but just really to prove these mediums wrong, that I couldn't be a medium.
Okay.
So I went to the Arthur Finn College, and on the first evening, Gordon Higginson called me out on the platform, and he said, I want you to make a contact. And I said, I'm not a medium, I don't know how to make a contact. And he simply just said, ask who's there. And I said, well, I don't know how to do that. And he says, just ask. And automatically, not in words in my head, he says, I just went down to the depths of my being and spoke to the Spirit, to God, really, from my soul. And I says, help, give me what this man wants. And the words of Father came into my mind. I didn't know whether it was the spirit world or not, but I wasn't bothered about being wrong because I wasn't particularly trying to be a medium. So I said, it's somebody's father. And he then said to me, well, who does he want to speak to? And there was about 80, 90 students sitting there. And I said, I haven't got a clue. And he said, ask and allow their power to move you to who they wish to speak to. So again, from the depths of my soul, I asked, and as I looked at the audience, I just seemed to be moved to this one lady who stood out from everybody else. And I said, the lady there. I'll be honest with you, I thought I was just guessing. And she said, yes, my father's in the spirit world. Then Gordon Higginson said to me, and what does he want to say? He didn't do what a lot of people do today. Tell me his physical description. Tell me how he died. Tell me this. Tell me that. Simply said, what does he want to say? I said, I don't know. He said, ask. So again, from the depths of my soul, I asked through those feelings and the emotions, and the words came into my mind. I've only just passed, and I left my daughter $500,000 in my estate, my will. And she said, yes. And that was the beginning of the journey. So I'd had no training, didn't even know I was a medium. But if you look at those three simple things, who's there? Who do they want to speak to? What do they want to say? Simplicity. And if we could develop that and people were trained that way in the beginning, then I think we'd have a far better standard of mediumship that we often see in many demonstrations.
Okay, so the questions were, who's there? Who do you want to speak to? And what do you have to say?
Yeah. where you see what we've become now is what we've got to look at is I'm a very strong believer in technique and structure in demonstrations, in how it's presented, and how you have to work. But what we've done is that we've become maybe too heavy in the beginning with that, and we've taken away the naturalness. So what we need to do is make sure the naturalness comes first, then depending what happens naturally, then what techniques and structures we have to put into place. We've become too controlling, too mechanical, too rigid. I have a mantra I do myself because I went through a period where I realised I'd become too rigid, too controlling in what I wanted and how I wanted to receive it. And what we've got to realise is the spirit world know what we're capable of receiving as evidence. They know what that evidence they want to bring. They know if that intelligence is there that we say it is, in how we can receive it, whether that's through the feelings and the emotions, the sensing, the seeing, the hearing. They know. So before I begin a demonstration, I always say to the spirit, I surrender, I trust, bring whatever evidence you want to bring in whichever way I can receive it. Then, depending on what I've received, how I've received it, will then decide on the technique and the structure of the delivery and the presentation of that communication. And, really for me, it's that simplicity, where now we're teaching and training mediums to tell them how they've got to receive it and giving them a rigid shopping list of what they've got to give as evidence. It's not for us to decide, as the medium, of what evidence that we should be giving.
Jennifer's Journey in the chat room says very good points.
Yeah, and and if we look at demonstrating today, many demonstrations I go to, and I love to see a good demonstration of medium. Of mediumship, and I don't care who the medium is. I'm really pleased to see anybody to do a wonderful job. But if we look, there's two styles of demonstrating. There's this where people throw it out to the whole audience, and then there's what we call going direct to an individual or to a very small, tiny area of just several people. Today, it's become more popular just to throw it out to the whole audience. And I'll be honest with you, some of the information, if you've got an audience of 100 people, quite often the information that's thrown out is so generic that can fit so many people. And, I'm not saying the contacts aren't real or genuine, but what I find and I question, how often does that contact or communicator reach the right person in the audience?
Yes.
Because in your audience, you've got those who are reluctant to claim and put their hands. Then you've got those in the audience whose hands that will go up and claim anything, even if it's not 100% accurate. And if the medium doesn't have the trust and the confidence, they'll just allow the person who responds the strongest or the quickest take the contact, whether it's for them or not.
Yeah, because some people want to connect so much, they will make it fit to themselves.
That's right. And if I look at it, to be honest with you, if I was in an audience, a demonstration, and I was in a bad state, grieving, wanting that first contact and that evidence, I wouldn't really want to put my hand up and fight with half a dozen other people for the contact.
Yeah, no.
I'd want the person to come and say, I've got your father here, or I've got your mother here, or your son here. He wants to speak to you. And I find him a lot of demonstrations I hear, and also when I'm training with students, you'll always find that the most common weakness is relationship, who the communicator is, and who they want to speak to. But you see, I was told to do that right at the first attempt with no training, not knowing I was the medium. So if people would have been trained that in the beginning, right from the beginning, so I just thought it was normal. That's what you had to do. You have to you have to do it every time. And if I look at some of the wonderful mediums I knew, in the 1980s, there was none of this messing about. They nearly always knew who the recipient was straight away. They always said who the communicator was.
Yeah.
So if we could have mediumship being delivered like that then, why aren't we doing it now?
No, yeah.
And I think it's bad training, lack of training, or sometimes often people in their training taking the easy option, and too many, they're just happy that somebody's taking it. It's like now, okay, without sounding egotistical, I have a decent reputation for my mediumship, and sometimes when I go to demonstrations and there's a pressure because people's expectations of what they expect to hear, and I have to remove that pressure. So often before a demonstration I will say, I have got nothing to prove as a medium. But what I want to do this evening is I want to give enough evidence that I know that the person I say is here with me belongs to you and not you.
True.
Makes sense? I think we're going the easy road and easy options. I'm not saying my way is the only way, but I came from a period where I listened to the best there was, and I've tried to, I don't profess I'm the best medium in the world, but I try to work into that towards that quality and standard that I witnessed that convinced me of the eternal spirit and the reality of the spirit world.
Yeah, you are the best Paul Jacobs that there is, and that's the only person you have to live up to.
And what we've got to look at is, I sometimes think, there's even from some of my own students who've come to me regular, as soon as they capable of doing a demonstration on their own, they automatically want to give up their day job, become a full-time professional medium, and become a teacher straight away. It doesn't mean because you're a medium and you can do a decent job that you've got to be a teacher of it.
Very true.
And I quite often think that often when students start to work as a medium in their own right as a medium, they jump into the teaching far, far too quickly. It's like I'll have students who've done many courses with me of teaching themselves now, and they'll use my exercises. That's fine. I don't have a problem. But are they just repeating in parrot fashion? Do they fully understand the teaching behind the exercise? And secondly, I don't do my exercises in a rigid shopping list in the course. It's when is the right time to use them. Do the student need that particular exercise? And again, with the teaching of mediumship, I feel really a true teacher of mediumship, you can't teach somebody to be that. And like now, you have to train to be a teacher of mediumship in some of our establishments. And, I've never been trained to be a teacher of mediumship because, there's got to be a natural ability with it. There's got to be an inspirational aspect with it. And, you can't do like, people are being taught that they have to do a week's set lesson plan to teach on a course. I don't know where I'm going to teach from one lesson to the next. I know what games and objects are, but I don't know what I need to teach until I've got the group of students in front of me. And then depends what happens in one session to what I need to teach in the next session. I might have already had the thought of what to teach in the next session, but because what's happened in the session before, it's the wrong thing to teach.
Very true. Very true.
And then, just forgive me, Mom. And like a lot of regular students who go on courses, many courses, they're looking and they'll jump from teacher to teacher to different teacher because they're looking for a new or different exercise to do. And I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of exercises done in courses now, and I call them party games.
Okay.
I don't do that. I remember one organizer who was organising for me said, I hope you've got different exercises to what you did last time. And I said, one, don't tell me how to teach. And two, I don't sit at home thinking up new games for the students to play to give them something different. What I teach is what's needed to use in the real situation, not these games. And that's what tends to happen. I mean, like I say, just take a psychic ability of psychometry. You ask a student who's done a few courses to do psychometry, and you can see the faces drop. And I'll say, what's the matter? Oh, we've done that before. I'll say, well, how well can you do it? Can you do it with not knowing who it belongs to? Can you do it without actually touching the object, without seeing the object? I said, take Gordon Higginson, the finest medium of the day. He never did a sitting without doing psychometry first.
Now, for those people who don't understand, psychometry is holding an object that belongs to somebody and getting the energies from that.
I don't use it very often, and the main time I use it is quite often when you've got business people and they come in really for about their business life and an aspect, and like they want every I dotted, every T crossed, but also they're skeptical at the same time, and they give away nothing. So in a way, there's like a barrier there with them. So then I will take an article, I'll say, well, let me have your watch or whatever, because their energy is transferred onto that article, and by me having the article, they can't put a barrier to the energy they've left on that article.
Okay. That makes sense.
I mean, the true psychometry is the history of an object. That's the real true psychometry. But we can use it in these cases to be able to get into the energy with no barriers of the sitter client. So
have you ever had somebody who put up such a barrier that you, no matter how much you wanted to, no matter how much they said that they wanted to, like we'll say a true skeptic, they wanted something, but they wouldn't allow you into it, that you just kind of sort of had to say, look, I can't do this?
It's not that I can't, but if they're being skeptical in a way where they're not being fair, where they're not giving you a positive response back when they should, and that's what I feel, then I'll simply call it a stop. I'll say, there's no point. I've got nothing to prove to you, and if you're not prepared to go with me, then that's your choice,
Exactly.
Yeah. I've only ever had one, but I had one experience in my early years, many years ago, where this young lady came for a sitting, and I could get nothing mediumistically or psychically, which even today I still find hard to understand. And she was so disappointed. And I said, the only thing I can do is I'll ask a friend of mine, a colleague who's more experienced than me, to give you a sitting, because she's so disappointed. So I did that, I arranged that. I didn't tell the colleague and friend what had happened with my experience. I just asked them to do the sitting. Yeah. And the same thing happened to them. They couldn't get nothing at all, this young lady. And the only conclusion we could come with was maybe there was things that young lady had got to experience, had got to happen in her life, that we could interfere with.
Ah.
So there was that sort of like barrier there that we weren't allowed to penetrate or go through. I could be wrong on that. That was the only answer or conclusion we could come with, you know. And we've got to realise sometimes with cities, whether we're working psychically or mediumistically, we can't be everything to everybody all the time.
No, that's true.
You know,
That's true.
I had to learn that very quickly because in the beginning I thought I had to, you know, and be able to be that. And then we've also got to look, and I keep saying to students, they go all negative in a classroom when maybe an exercise or something hasn't worked for them. I says, look, I've been doing this 30 years. I says, sometimes it won't work very well or as well as it should for me. So if it won't for me after 30 years, it's certainly not going to work for you after a couple of years. Got to realize, let's say if I, in the old days when I used to travel abroad, we would have to do 5 days of sittings. That's 40 sittings, and some would be excellent, some would be very good, some would be good, some would be average. 1 or 2, I think I scraped the barrel, and there'd be 1 or 2, and I'd say, I'm not happy with this, or it's obvious you're not happy. Let's call it a day. And they would still maybe want me to carry on. I'd say, what's the point? It's better for you to go away and say it didn't work, but the man was honest, rather than you go and say I paid for a load of rubbish. And also I'm not always going to be the right medium for every communicator, for every sitter.
Very true. Not every psychic medium. That's one of my questions along as well. Not every medium can fit with every person. Sometimes it's a different, you can say, okay, come to you. And like you said, the young lady who came to you, you got nothing. But when you sent her to your friend, your colleague, you didn't tell them anything. They got the same thing. So that was something that, like you said, was meant that lessons that she had to learn that you guys may have, opened a book that she wasn't ready for at that moment in time. Or, maybe neither one of you was the person that it was meant to be, to give her the hand.
Yeah, you see, and also, what we've got to remember, and I don't care who the medium is, what reputation they've got, how famous anybody is, no medium is 100% accurate.
No.
We've got to be honest about that. It's not possible. You're speaking about another mind that's left this physical world behind, imparting information into another mind encased in this physical body, that they have to use our imagination to create that information onto our conscious mind. Then our mediumship works through our psychic faculty. So when we're working mediumistically, there will always be a small part of the psychic. It can't be 100% all spirit. And there will be also at times elements of our imagination, because they have to use our imagination. So all we can do is hopefully keep those 2 things to the smallest percentage as possible. I would deny any medium who said they were always 100% accurate and it was 100% from the spirit world.
Yeah. Now, one of the topics that you had on your Facebook conversation was the difference between a psychic and a medium. You want to talk on that?
Yes,
I know that's one of your pet peeves.
Okay, yeah. What we've got really, over the years, the word psychic's become a little bit of a negative or a dirty word, okay? And our psychic work is very important, and it's no lesser than our mediumistic work, okay? The only time I have a problem with the psychic is if somebody's saying it's coming from the spirit world when it's not, okay? But, if we look at today's world, okay, many people are needing help. Yes, there's still those who need help who are grieving. Yeah? They need confidence and evidence that their loved ones well, okay? But if we look, really, a lot of people who come for readings, they're coming because of the difficulties of living in this physical world. And we can deal and help with them with that on a psychic level. We don't need the spirit world. And in a way, the spirit world haven't always got all the answers. They're not. The spirit world aren't going to come and live the lives for everybody. So in a private sitting situation, 1-to-1, I have no problem about the psychic level at all. as long as it's used properly. I'm not speaking about doing silly fortune telling, looking at the makeup of the person, looking at the quality of the person, looking at what's happened in the past and the present, putting those ingredients together to look at the potentials to help them move forward with their life.
Yeah.
That's a very important part. Okay, a demonstration of mediumship, we want to keep the psychic as little as possible.
Okay. So a medium can be a psychic, but a psychic can't be a medium. Do I have that right?
That's right, yeah. So every medium has to be psychic because your mediumship works through your psychic faculty. So you've got to be psychic in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Not every psychic, somebody can be a good psychic, but they will never really develop their mediumship to a degree they can use in a consistency. So what I always say, because really the word psychic comes from part of the wording for the Greek words meaning the soul. Okay. So we've all got a soul, so we can all be psychic. And I don't believe there's any limitation to anybody how good we can be, except the limitations of our own mind and the type of mind we have. On the mediumistic level, what we have to accept is because we're all spirit, then we can all have varying experiences of the spirit in the spirit world and the spirit people, but we won't all be able to develop it to a strength where we can use it in a consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But also what we've got to look at, though, is if somebody is definitely mediumistically, mm-hmm. why if one medium's ability seems lesser than another, it doesn't make sense, say, God or the spirit will do whatever you want to say, right, I like Paul, I'm going to have Paul as a medium, so I'm going to make him a very good one. I'm going to choose Darlene, but I need a second one, but I'm not so keen on Darlene, so I'm not going to give her such a good ability. It doesn't make sense. Uh-huh. You're either mystic or not. But what it is, you may have a wonderful mediumistic potential, but it depends on your development training whether it reaches its full potential.
Okay. So if somebody comes to you and says, I want to train with you as a medium, but you, for whatever reason, this person has we know that everybody has abilities, has gifts, whichever way people want to call them. But have you ever had this? Okay, I'm gonna come to you. Okay, Paul, I want to become a medium, but you kind of like, that I can't do it. I can get to like a certain point, but I can't get as where my mind wants to go with it.
Okay.
Have you ever had that?
Maybe not so much where I wouldn't allow them to join a course. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because you've got those who join who where it's already there on the top surface, even though they've not done anything with it. Yeah. So you can see that quite strongly and clearly. There are others who are coming on a journey of discovery and search, where there may be a mediumistic ability, but it's not come to the surface. It's laid deep within them. Yeah. Okay. So you can sometimes maybe just jump to the conclusion wrongly too quickly, mm-hmm. right? If it's not just a one-off course where you don't see the students again, if the regular courses, which I prefer to do when students come 3-4 times a year, the same group, then as we work with them in different ways, then there may come a point and I'll say, this isn't for you, but then you don't just say that. You then look at what potentials and what direction they should be going. I did have a gentleman a couple of years ago, and it was only a one-off course, and he'd been trying with his medium for several years, and I honestly really felt it wasn't for him, and I told him so. But I told him what he could do, though, and what he should be looking at in the way he could express the quality of the spirit. Yeah, so you don't put somebody down.
No. Yeah.
So you have to show them or direct them into a potential of what they can express of the spirit. then you might get stage. I had one lady come to me. It was when I was president of Longton Spiritualist Church, and I got my regular training group, weekly training group. And this lady got in touch with me who was a working medium and said, could I join the group? So I'm not so sure because, it's a regular group. We've been going some time. I said, you're already a working medium and you've been working for many years. And she said, oh, no, I'd really like to join. I said, I'm not so sure. In the end, I said, okay, come next week and let me listen to what you do. So she came, she did a contact, communication, and when she finished, I said to her, I'm going to have to say no. And she was disappointed. And I said, it's not because you're not mediumistic at all, and it's not that there's not real contacts. I said, your style of, or the way you work with your mediumship is not particularly my cup of tea. Okay. And if I tried to change you, I said, because you've been working so long and working in the way you are, it may be that I would mess you up. So I think it'd be better you'll still help a lot of people in your own way with your mediumship as it is. So I think you're better off just continuing the way you are, because I might mess your mind up trying to reset your mind to work in your mediumship in the different way to that you've been doing for so many years.
Yeah. Okay.
So I wasn't being horrible,
No. You were being, you were telling her the truth without being, like you said, without being mean.
I was not trying to be nice by saying she definitely got a mediumistic ability and awareness of the spirit world, But the way she used it just wasn't my cup of tea. But she'd been doing it so long, I don't think she'll get the head round the way I would try and do.
I have a good friend. Yeah, I have a good friend who says there's no wrong way of connecting with spirit. There's just different ways of connecting with spirit.
Sort of, yeah. I think there's only one way to connect. The way we use it and present it, there's many different ways. That's how I would look at it. So it's this naturalness. This is why I say this is why there's got to be this naturalness first. We've got to then technique and structure into second place, all right, where we tend to put the technique and structure first, and then we've lost the naturalness, you see. And I think it's partly where we've gone wrong, particularly over the last 20 years in the teaching of mediumship. And like I say, some of these exercise games people do, I can't really see what they do to help people becoming a medium in a professional sense as a demonstrator or a private consultation medium.
There's a gentleman in the chat room, David Schultz. He has asked, how important is meditation?
In the
I'm guessing connecting with spirit.
Okay. Again, you see, there's many forms of meditation. There's no point just suddenly deciding, I think I'll meditate. There's got to be a purpose and a point beyond your meditation. Okay. We can meditate in a formal sense, or later on, which we can do it more in a more informal way. But I know in my beginning of my journey, it was very important because it was about, in a way, being able to know and understand in that meditation, going into my own soul, understanding my own soul, looking at the reality of who I was as a person, what I'd been, what I'd done, the positive, the negative, releasing the negative, acknowledging and embracing the positive, looking at what aspects I need to change, that I could change, accepting parts of me that I can't change, that I was not over keen on, but acknowledge them and be able to embrace those and allow the positive to overpower them, because that's the part of developing and strengthening the power of the spirit. And, if I can't understand my own feelings and emotions, how on earth do I understand the feelings and emotions of a client or the feelings and emotions of somebody in the spirit world? And you may have seen on my website, it says God has to be in your mediumship, but God cannot be in your mediumship unless God's in your life first. And very much, there has to be a relationship. God's got to be a reality within you and your life if your mediumship is really going to go to the true potential. Okay, so really that was the first part and purpose of my meditation, and being able to go into that silence and that stillness, not listening to music or listening to a voice. Okay, I do a meditation and take people through a meditation in a class, only to give them the structure of my meditation. I've never recorded on CD, and I could have sold thousands over the years, because it defeats the object. Because if my conscious mind is listening to music and words, then I'm keeping my conscious mind too prominent. So that's why we need to be able to go into that silence and stillness within our own soul, within our own power, to be able to listen to that higher consciousness, to understand our own emotions. And then that meditation then would move then into the second part, where then we lift that mind and consciousness onto another level, and to be within the power and the consciousness of the spirit world beyond the physical consciousness, but not to be aware of spirit communicators, and to be able to hold and stay within that power. And I was doing that for about 12 months, once a week in a group, every day on my own. And then after 12 months, it just happened to be about 12 months, it could have been 11, could have been 13 months, and Gordon Linginson turned around to me and he says, "You're now ready to begin your training." So I did that first for 12 months before I started doing any development on psychic exercises or becoming aware of giving spirit contacts. And, I did it for many years. It's not very often I do it now. I can meditate more in an informal sense, by just sitting in the garden, appreciating the surroundings, on a walk, in that sort of way.
Okay.
You see, a lot of people want to put the cart before the horse. So there's, very much, Gordon was a firm believer in this self-awareness. When I first went to the Arthur Finney College, you had to go on awareness week first before you could go on any other course. So there's got to be this self-awareness. There's got to be an understanding of the spiritual nature of your makeup. This something, as Aristotle said, that's something divine that's within, but allow it to become a reality and alive, and have a relationship with it. Call it. I have no problem calling it God. Some people do. God's a universal word. We can put any name or label we want. It doesn't matter, as long as it becomes a reality and a part of you. Because it's the foundation. Your mediumship will never reach the level it should. You'll stay more on the psychic level if that aspect's not there. So we've got to remember, religion and spirituality is two different things. Religion is just is a vehicle of organisations which we're supposed to use to be able to lead people to this spiritual understanding. So to be spiritual, you don't have to go to church, or you don't have to pray to a particular image or wear a particular symbol or whatever. And nobody can give you spirituality. We can inspire you on your journey, different people or different places, but really it's a personal journey, and we can only do that by going within. I sometimes have to smile sometimes, we go on about the philosophy of the spirit and wanting to hear new philosophy. There's nothing really new to listen to or hear, to be truthful. I think really we haven't listened to the messages we've had from thousands of years ago. If we only look at two simple things, if you look at Buddha, who said the temple of heaven is within, and Jesus saying, "My Father and I are one." And if we all if we all did that in our beginning of our development and that become a reality in our mediumship, which we do through meditation, then you'll find a difference in people's development and what reaching their mediumship.
Well, I asked David if that helped, if that answered his question, and he said yes. Thank you.
Good.
The question I've always, it's an interesting one for me. Somebody passes and you want to get, my mother passes and I want to get a hold of her. I want to talk to her. Is there a time difference between, or time delay, whatever, I'm not sure exactly how you'd put it, between the time that the person passes to the time that you can connect with them?
No set time whatsoever. I've given communications in where either the funeral's only taken place that week, or the funeral's not even taken place yet.
Okay.
So it all depends on the individual spirit and their state of mind and emotion when they pass to the spirit world. Sometimes I will say to some clients it's too early, not necessarily for the spirit communicator, but too early for them.
For them, okay.
Yeah, but there's no set time limits, you know.
Okay.
And I can't give a defined answer why one communicator can communicate strongly after only being past 1 week, why another one it will take a few years. It's also the opportunity for them to be able to, and also then you've got to look also at the recipient and the spirit finding the right medium for them to make that communication.
Okay.
And it's like when I first came into this and started sitting, I went for sitting after sitting after sitting. I was a young man of 20, and I was wanting a contact, looking for evidence of my father who died tragically at 40, and everybody just kept giving me a grandfather, and at that time I hadn't got a grandfather in the spirit world, and nobody could give me a contact from my father, and I was desperately wanting a contact. I finally got the first contact through Gordon Higginson in a demonstration, and even after that, for quite a long time, no other medium could really give me a contact from my father. My father would only come through Gordon, nobody else. But in a way, when I thought about it, it made sense, because in a way, at that time, I was still very doubtful about a lot of mediums, and the only medium I really trusted and confidence was Gordon, so my father would know that. Also, my father was a man, if he said something, you would have to listen, yeah?
Yes.
And so he knew through Gordon, if he said something, I would listen. So it made sense.
That makes sense, yeah. It does.
So there is no set time at all.
Okay. And if somebody who is mediumistic wants to connect with somebody who they just lost, and they keep not getting that connection.
You mean a contact for themselves with their own loved ones?
Yes. Example. I'm going to continue to use me. It's simpler. I want to connect with my mom. I want to connect with my dad. I want it so badly that I'm looking for the big picture rather than the little connections. I
think you're asking for not the impossible, but what you've got to look at is that, it's difficult unless it's an objective experience. It's on a subjectively. Have you just created with your own mind?
Yeah.
You're experiencing. What I find is my best experiences with my own people is when I'm not consciously trying to make the contact with them.
Yeah. Because I have a friend who wants desperately to connect with his mother, and he has abilities, he has gifts, and he's sort of heartbroken that he can't connect with her. And I keep telling him, you're trying too hard, and it's
mediumship is not meant for your own use, for yourself.
Yeah, it's like a psychic can't pick the lotto numbers.
So it doesn't mean you can't. If they just relaxed about it, stop purposely trying, then in natural ways, when he's not expecting it, his mother then will give him the signs or some sort of communication.
Yeah. Well, I know that they made they had a conversation before his mom passed, and she said, if there is life after death, if there is something else out there, I will connect with somebody. And this is, they sort of like had a code word or something. I'm not sure. He wouldn't tell me, and I didn't want to know. But there was a specific thing that his mum was either supposed to do or say.
But if I've understood your wording correct, she didn't say she'd communicate with him directly through his own mediumship. She says through somebody.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, he's been ranking his brain, trying to get through himself and through asking different mediums and spending lots of money, trying to find his mother. And I just told him, I said, you need to just relax, because you're spending too much money, but you need to just relax, and it'll happen when it happens.
That's right. Because actually, when you're wanting a specific piece of information, you can be so intense that it actually causes a barrier from it happening.
Okay.
And and the spirit world can. It's strange some ways. And again, this is what makes me question: is it the right medium, the right time? I remember a lady when I was president of Longton Church, and she'd been coming to the church for 12 months, and she'd always come in late. That's why I recognised it, because we were a busy church. She always came in late, sat on the back row. And I thought, I've never ever heard her have a contact. And this one particular evening, we was nearly ready to start, and I was going to be chairing the service. And as I walked past, without any thought, I just stopped. And it's not something I normally do. I don't normally offer and ask somebody if they would like a sit-in. I just stopped and said, would you like to come and see me for a sit-in? She just looked at me and she says, yes, please. So she came, and her daughter came and communicated. And her daughter was an excellent communicator, so strong. I thought, I can't understand why the daughter's not come before. This lady's been coming to Dems every week and never got a contact. And then after several sessions, over a period of time, she says to me, Paul, you've helped me and my husband so much. She says, and we can't doubt what you've given us and whatever. She says, but there's been one thing we've been waiting for that would really prove it to us. And she says, that would be her nickname. And I says, well, I'm not going to sit here now and deliberately try. I said, because I'll have a barrier. My mind will just be conjuring up all sorts of things.
Right.
I said, well, I will be, she knows you want to give that. My mind might now be more open for it. So in the future, she might bring it. So I says, just before we bring the sitting to a close, I said to her, your daughter had a favourite cartoon character? And she says, yes. I said, and there was a photograph, a drawing in a photograph frame next to a bed of this character. And she says, yes. I said, it was Betty Boo. And she burst into tears. And I says, what's the matter? She says, that's what we've been waiting for. That was my daughter's nickname.
Aww.
So, I didn't know it was the daughter's nickname. It didn't matter. But the spirit world responded straight away. But if I had been deliberately trying to get it, I probably wouldn't have got it.
Very true.
Yeah.
And you weren't getting it as a nickname. You were getting it as in a different way. Yeah, but it just came out the same. It came out the same response. You just, two different ways to answer a problem. You just, so long as you come to the same response in the end. So yeah.
And this is what I'm saying about the naturalness of mediumship. You see, okay. So if I were doing exercise and a student say, right, I want you to get a name of somebody, whether it's a Christian name, surname, nickname, name of a place. Most people will be there wanting to hear something or creating words in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But the spirit world did it through bringing another piece of evidence and bringing it through a clairvoyant imagery.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Mm-hmm. So
Now,
it is.
now of all I hear there's all the clairsentience, clairaudient. I can't remember them all. I should have written them down. But I always find questions when I'm having conversation. Is there one that when you were growing into your mediumship that you wanted the least?
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't want to see the spirit people.
Okay.
Okay. Because, like I said, I was having these experiences, and then at that time, before I started training mission, I would not be subjected in my mind. I was seeing people objectively, and it scared the living daylights out of me.
Okay.
And I'd say, "Go away! I don't want to see you," and dive under the bed covers. Okay. So now it's very rare I see the people from the spirit world. I'm a strong clairvoyant, but it's mainly I see objects and scenes that will give me practical evidence, like their work, their hobbies, their interests, objects of exchange, maybe specific memories of places, gestures that were made. They'll give me pictures to give me Christian names, surnames, nicknames, names of places, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So what I try to do is I try to be totally open when I'm working on how I receive. You'll get a lot of mediums say, I'm a clairvoyant medium, I'm a clairsentient medium, I'm a clairaudient medium. I normally say, I'm a bag of licorice all sorts. Okay, so it would be a mixture of all three for me.
Mm-hmm.
But what will happen, depending on my faculties and energies, it will vary from demonstration to demonstrate which one rises to the surface strongest. Yeah, and also it all depends what type of evidence is needed in a contact, right? So and this is why also we shouldn't really decide what we want to give as evidence, because you've got those recipients who need what we call more practical evidence, and then you get those who need more the emotional evidence. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm going to limit the spirit world and I only want my clairvoyant practical evidence, I'm not going to be able to use my clairsentience to give the emotional evidence that's needed. So what I try to do in a contact is be open to be able to try and give both aspects. Okay? I don't decide which aspect comes first. I let the spirit world decide. So if I begin with the clairsentience, the feeling, the emotion, the essence of the communicator, then hopefully through the clairvoyance or clairaudience, the more practical will come. Or I might begin with the practical through the clairvoyance, clairaudience, and then bring in the essence and the quality. So the emotion and the sensing part is very important in a contact, because it what brings the communicator real and alive. If a contact or communication exchange is just practical evidence, then they don't come across as real people. They just come across as information.
Sure. I like that.
Make sense?
Yes, to me it does. Just going to give a little quick, if anybody in the chat room has a question, you know how this works. Pop it into the chat room in capitals, if please, because you know me, I'm a cat, and then I see something shiny and I pay attention to it. So capitals is shiny. Now, a little bit, I know I asked you to come on because I'm interested in you, but part of who you are is Gordon Higginson. He was a big part, the way I understand, he was a big part of who you are, who you became. Not who you are, but who you became.
That's right. I only said to some students today, if I hadn't have met Gordon Higginson, I don't think I would have gone forward with this work. Even now, at times, we all go through our moments where we get despondent or a little bit disillusioned with it. And the only thing that keeps me going is Gordon Higginson. And it was the same even when he was here. When I got a little bit fed up or down or disillusioned with it, he just had this way of just lifting me back up again, and he was just, and I was fortunate, okay, so yes, he was the president of the SNU, principal of the Arthur Findlay College, president of the church I belonged to, one of the finest mediums there was, but he was a wonderful person, and it wasn't just his mediumistic ability, he had this power that just touched you and moved you and affected you. And that's what we're missing today.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about other mediums, I'm talking about myself as well. We don't seem to have that power and presence that emanated from him, I mean, say, take my mother, who's a good Catholic lady, and when I first started going, and sometimes occasionally she would come with me, and then some days, some weekends, she'd say to me, "Are you going to church?" And I'd say yes, and I'd say, "Why would you like to come?" And she'd say, "Is Gordon Higginson going to be there?" And I said, "He's going to be there. He's not taking the service." She said, "That doesn't matter. I'm coming." And I said, "Well, why has he got to be there? He's not taking the service. He's not demonstrating. He's not speaking." She says, "Paul, doesn't matter how ill I feel, how depressed I am, I only have to see him standing at the top of the stairs and I feel whole and well again."
I like that.
Yeah. And, it's like our church was 2 floors, our ground floor, our social room, and it was a big room. So I might be the furthest distance away from the entrance to the room, and I could have my back to the entrance. And I always knew when he entered that room and walked through the door, because his power would touch you. It was like at the Arthur Findlay College. Say the course had started and he would be arriving later that day or in a couple of days' time. But the closer it came to him being there, the atmosphere and the energy in the place would begin to change before he even physically got there. Because he'd got this power and this energy that could just reach out. And this is what's like, it's this power, you see. And that's what we've got to be looking at. Not just as a medium. All of us are on this journey and the message behind the Spirit. If we can recognise and awaken this power of the Spirit and that sensitivity, the Spirit world can help us so much in our own lives. Actually, it could help us so much, we could actually do away with mediums who would have no need of them, or heal us. Yeah? Where this power could move us, direct us, uphold us. I can remember Gordon Higginson saying to me once, we were driving along in the car, and we'd really only just starting to know each other personally, and I was telling him how I slept with an axe under my bed. And he said, "You sleep with an axe under your bed?" And I said, "What on earth for?" And I said, "Well, my home was broken into. I'm scared of it happening while I'm asleep, so it's to protect myself." And he says, "Paul, you are silly." He said, "Don't you realise how well protected you are?" And I says, "No." And he says, "Paul, nothing untoward will ever happen to you in life." And then he added, "Even in your car." Now, I'd never told him. I'd always had this fear that I would die early in a car accident, because my father did, my grandmother did, 2 of my best friends did. So I thought, fantastic, I'll cancel my life insurance and take out extra. So anyway, when I got home, I thought about it, and I thought, and I sent the thought out to the Spirit. Well, this is all very well and nice for me, But why am I so well protected and nothing untoward will happen to? And why not everybody else?
Mm-hmm.
I'm no more important. I'm no more special than anybody else. And the answer I got back was they try to do the same for everybody, but they are limited by us as individuals whether we can respond to that power.
Very true.
You see that? And in a way, and that's what we should. That's what we're supposed to be encouraging. This is, really the part of the message behind the message we give people from their loved ones. So Gordon was very much into this power and this God power, this relationship with God, being able to just be aware beyond your physical senses in your everyday life. I said to students were saying to me, Paul, we keep going in our head, I keep saying to them, you've got to work from that higher conscious, that higher mind within your soul. And I said, the thing is, I find it easy because even before I came, really, to a certain degree, even before I came into this subject, when I lived my life, I didn't just live it by my conscious thoughts. I lived it also by listening to how I felt within myself and what I was experiencing and doing. So when it comes to working with my mediumship, it's not unnatural to stay working from within the emotion and the higher mind within the soul.
Okay.
It's a natural thing.
Yeah. Okay. If somebody comes to you and says, I get, I connect with spirit, but I'm not sure if what I'm getting is actual connection. They have a lot of self-doubt. How do you help somebody believe in themselves?
In one way, I can't. It's up to them to believe in themselves. I was speaking to the students today. I said, even experienced mediums, quality mediums, all right, we sometimes receive things and it may be so faint, it might seem as if we're pulling it out of thin air. It may seem like our imagination, but we have to simply trust, express it, and let the result speak for itself. It's the only way in the end.
Okay.
Yeah, there are times, I've been working with a colleague and I've been ready to start my demonstration, and I've said to them, I've just been aware of something, and I said, I don't know whether this is right or not. I said, but if it's right, it's going to be damn good. I said, if it's not, I've lost the plot. At the end of the day, because most of us work on a subjective level, the spirit will use the faculty of our imagination. So often when we're receiving it, it's only like when we're working in our own self and our own lives with our imagination in the way we receive it. Yes, we do have occasions where it's strong. But if you can expect it to hit you so strong in the face and knock you over, most of the time you'll wait forever and a day.
Yeah.
So it's only by expressing it and allowing the result speak for itself. And I said to the students today, you're in a classroom. It doesn't matter if it's wrong. But you're only going to know if it's right or wrong by expressing it. Then we'll find out, is it the spirit world? Is it evidence of the spirit world? Is it psyche? Is it your imagination? And this holds people's development back. Because, if they don't express it, then the contact can't develop. And also, it also keeps some mediums strength of their evidence lower than it could be because they don't trust enough and scared to express that something more in case it's wrong, in case it hasn't come from the spirit world. You know, I'm more confident when I get something different, maybe a little bit off the wall or strange. My own mind's not going to make that up. Actually, if all I get is a little old lady with grey hair with an apron in a kitchen, I get scared to death. But give me something unusual or something I've never had before in a way I've never had before. I have a lot of confidence with it. Cause why would my mind make that up? Why wouldn't my imagination create that? So, at the end of the day, it's allowing the results speak for itself. And in a classroom, you're in a place where you can't be wrong. You've got the right to be wrong, And it's only by expressing and being prepared to wrong that we will grow. And then we'll begin to understand. And then as your mediumship grows, then what you will find is that not 100% of the time, but most of the time, then as you grow in experience, you can feel the difference.
Mm-hmm.
That you're in touch. But I can't teach you what that feeling is or how to feel that. Again, it's them to experience. And again, I say to students, I might be doing myself out of a job. There's a limit to what we can teach you. A lot of it is simply practice, getting it wrong, getting it wrong, and experience. What I teach you in the classroom, most of what I teach you is from all the things that went wrong for me in my own mediumship in the real situation.
Mm-hmm. Because we learn from our mistakes.
Yeah, and I say actually to them, I want you to be wrong because I can teach you more.
Very true.
If you've done a perfect job, that's what I'm going to say. Well done.
Oh, yes. I like that. Okay. Lost my hearing there. Sorry. My headphones fell off. So, yeah, no, I like that because we learn from mistakes. And if we keep making mistakes, it's because we haven't learned it yet. And we haven't learned the lesson that's we're supposed to be learning. So I agree.
Well, I mean, it's not about learning a lesson as such. It's from the experience of those things. Is like say, we have to become our own teacher.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to become our own teacher. So like say, Gordon's been on 25 years, so I've had no teacher. I've had to be my own teacher. Okay, I've had nobody I can go to. So even now, after a demonstration, I will give myself an assessment on it. What I will do first of all is I'll give myself a tap on the shoulder before I know that it's gone well.
Okay.
And I've understood, yeah. Then I look at what did I do I shouldn't have done. What didn't I do I should have done. And then hopefully I have that scenarios again, I won't make the same mistake. But sometimes I will still make the same mistake because I'm only human.
Exactly. We are only human in what we do. Oops. In the chat room, Larry asked, may I ask a question, Paul? I would like to know of his impressions of the credibility of the so-called celebrity TV mediums. Does he believe they are accurate, or does he believe that these programs are just sensationalized for the ratings?
Okay, so I'm not going to speak about any individuals. That'd be wrong for me to do. What you've got to look at with TV, I've had my own. I'm not a big TV celebrity, but I've done bits and pieces here and there, whatever. So I can only speak about really more from my experience in England, particularly.
Mm-hmm.
Is what you'll find is that there's two types. There's one where they edit it and present the program to make the medium and what they do look far better than what they're capable of doing.
Mm-hmm.
Really in the positive. Or you get the TV shows and programs where they want want to make the medium look an idiot.
Yeah.
So you get one or the other. Yeah, it's not the other way. So we've also what we've got to be careful of. Nothing wrong with anybody becoming a celebrity medium if that's what happens for them. The only problem I think we've got today, we've got too many at the beginning of the journey. That's their aim and their objection in the first place. And that's the wrong thing. Okay, if that's naturally happened for some mediums, that's fine, and I wouldn't say anything negative about it. I think the only thing we've got to look at, and Gordon Higginson spoke to me about this, and it was about a particularly well-known medium, nobody of today. Okay, it's a long time ago, and he says, Paul, they've allowed the materialistic side of mediumship come to the forefront. And he said the materialistic side of mediumship is like a magnet that draws you in without you realising. And he says what's happening now, either the fame or the fortune has become the main object, and they've lost their true motive and intent of what they're doing. Yeah. So, as you know, if anybody, whether it's me or anybody else, do go down those tracks of media, TV, or wherever, it's not wrong to do, but you can easily lose your intent and motive and purpose without you realise you're doing it. And then what happens is, I remember the person Gordon was talking to me about, he said they were an excellent medium, but if you listen to them correctly and properly now, it's more psychic because the spirit world has started to withdraw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know that there are many TV spiritual shows of one form or another, and I know that there was one he did an interview with a TV show. I don't remember the TV show, and he was asked, "What is the worst part about the show that you do?" And he said the worst part is that the cutting room floor has all the no's. They never allow him to be wrong on camera.
That's right. You've got some shows like that, and then you've got other shows where they want the medium to look negative. So we don't. So either way, we don't get a fair balance. You know?
Yeah. And like, unless it's a live show, then you'll get the true thing. But when they're pre-recorded, you have the makes sense. Good question, Larry.
Yeah. That's good.
The same thing goes for anybody else in the chat room. Pop in your questions, and if I see them, I'll ask. Okay, I pay attention sometimes. I was watching a YouTube video of you and a woman talking about your connection with Gordon Higginson, and one of the things that you said that made me really smile, because I believe that, is that when you learned from him the most was not when he was teaching, is when you guys were driving from place to place.
That's right.
You know, when you were just being calm and relaxed, that's when you learned the most from him.
That's right. You know, see, I don't get me wrong, and I can understand students' needs, you know, of wanting, and I love to teach the practical application, you know, students the opportunity to be able to put in the practical application. But we've got to realise is though we can learn so much. It's not just about the practical side and doing, you understand, okay? It was like sometimes, even with Gordon, it wasn't that even in the chats in the car, that I was conscious that he was trying to teach me. It was only afterwards I realised he was trying to teach me, you know. I can remember I'd only done about half a dozen demonstrations, and you know, he said to me, when it comes time for you to do the big theatres or large meetings, it's a different type of style of mediumship altogether. And he says, and then it's a different style of mediumship if you're doing a Sunday divine service. It's a difference if you're doing just an evening of mediumship. So what Gordon did, he would put droplets there, but he wouldn't actually give us the answers. He made us search for the answers. Yeah. So like a prime example was one of the last times I was a student, and he asked me, and we was in the sanctuary at the college, and there's 80, 90 students, and he said, I want to contact Paul, and he says, it's got to be for somebody as far back in the room as at the back of the room. So naturally I just turned to him and I says, how and why? And he just looked at me and he said, that's for you to find out. I did it, and I found out why and how. And I think this is the problem sometimes when we are teaching groups of students, is that sometimes I think we try to give them too many answers to everything, or we're giving them things that they're actually not ready for. Can you see that? So like Gordon was telling us what we needed to do, but he'd actually make us find the answer ourselves. So in one way, he taught us, but didn't teach us.
He taught without teaching. So yes.
Yeah.
I'm going now. You still teach at Arthur Findlay College?
Yes, not as much now, but a little bit. I still do.
Okay. Well, I'm going to put into the chat room your links for your Facebook page and your website, and the Facebook page and the website of the Arthur Findlay College, because I know I've had a couple of people on my show who have taken courses at the Arthur Findlay College, and they were thoroughly pleased from everything that they learned. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm still. I've got a course I'm organising this November. I'm organising 2 courses next year, but I mean, I used to organise 7 courses a year. I'd be up 1 week up to about 15 weeks a year, but not now, just 2 or 3 times a year.
Are there any criteria for people to take a course at the Arthur Findlay College, other than the fact they have to go over there?
No, not really. It depends what they're looking for, or what level or stage they're at with their development, and what aspect they want to develop. I think one of the problems that stands out, so if I'm an organiser of a course and I've got 80, 90 students on the course, I've got a team of mediums, I can't take all 80, 90 students myself, because you have so many group sessions. We put you and we allocate you to a tutor for the week for your group sessions. Okay, you might listen to a lecture or a lecture or a tutorial from the other tutors. So I can't take all 80, 90 students. So, like say, if a student books a course because they want to be with me, I can't guarantee that to every student. So you really need to look not just at the course organiser, you need to look maybe about the team that's booked with them as well, because you may not necessarily be with the organiser.
Yeah. Well, I think from everything I've heard, the young lady that I had on my show, she didn't have you as a teacher. She had, I can't remember the gentleman's name because I should have written it down.
It's okay. I've been fortunate the last few years, because what it is, there's been a team of 4 or 5 tutors, mediums who became tutors at the college, who I trained from the beginning with their mediumship. Took them for their first demonstrations, took them into teaching. They then did the training at the college to be a teacher there. So I'd got a team that had been trained by me. So it meant then on the week, it didn't really matter whether you were with me or not, because the foundation that teachers are getting from those other tutors is basically what they were taught from me in the first place. So that was nice, because that's another problem you have sometimes with a team. Is that sometimes not just on one course, but even if just going off to different seminars with different teachers, sometimes you can get a little bit confused and contradictory. I might have a student say, for me that's not a good way to do it in this particular thing. And I said, yeah, but the last time we came, that's what we were told we should do. I said, it's not my thing, so this week try my way.
Mm-hmm.
Then go home, digest what you've had off me, look at what you were given before, then decide which you feel will enhance your mediumship the most. But then I normally add, but don't just choose the easy option.
Yeah. Have you ever, before we were talking about TV celebrity mediums and psychics, and how sometimes they go out into the public, and they just give connections, they give to people who they meet on the street, and it's never happened to me. Good night, DJ. Have a good day, sweetheart. Good day. Diane Jane is from Australia, so she's off to have her day. Have you ever had spirit come to you while you were out having dinner, other than just people messaging you, which I did?
Yes, it does happen on occasions. Got to be careful we don't become leaky mediums. If you're wanting it to happen and you give the spirit world permission for it to happen, it'll happen. But I feel we have to have a discipline where it's the right time to work and when not to. And the spirit world have to respect that also. But there are times when, if there's a real need, they will override that. Okay. I'll give you one prime example. At the time I was working as a sales representative, and I was just working with my mediumship in my spare time. And I'd gone to this store, and I'd got an appointment with the owner to show him the samples, and he was busy. He was an Indian gentleman, and there was 3 young girls who were the assistants, Indian girls, and I said, they made me a cup of tea, and all of a sudden I became aware of their father, and I knew he'd only just passed, and I kept saying to the spirit, it's not the time, it's not the place, and it was persistent. And I thought about it, and I thought, I've only just lost their father. These people will probably never enter a spiritualist church or see a medium. It's probably the only opportunity their father's going to have to communicate. So I said to them, okay, I'll go with it. I said, but if this is not accepted, or they don't like me giving it, then never do this to me again. So I said to them, there's something I'd like to share with you girls. I said, I'm one of these strange people who see things, and I've got your dad here. I know he's only just passed. And the 3 of them burst into tears, and but they were quite happy for me to give the contact and the communication, So, but that only happens very occasionally.
Okay.
And you could see there was an importance and a need to do it.
Yeah, I like I said, you see it on the TV, and I know that it's when you go in when you're watching the shows, people go, they go into the butcher shop, for example, and the butcher shop. We all have been into a butcher shop, and we all know that the butcher is not. The coat is not 100% clean, even though no matter how hard they try. But when they do the show, everybody is like, dressed to the nines and clean and prim and proper. But so we know people have to realize that when this happens, the the producers go in beforehand and go, hey, so-and-so wants to, give you a reading. Is that okay? And then in comes the hair and makeup team and does their thing or whatever.
Right.
But it's interesting to me, because I'm just at the beginning of what I do, but I love to make sure that people get to share what they do and who they are. And it's interesting to me how sometimes people get something and it's just not the right time and place, but I'm curious as to how insistent spirit can be when they want to be. I'm guessing it's...
I think what we've got to also keep remembering that, we're not supposed to just be giving evidence that the spirit survives, the soul's eternal. We're supposed to be giving evidence that there's another mind, another intelligence behind that communication.
Mm-hmm.
So like that time where I just shared the experience of, the intelligence knew it had to be done. It was the only opportunity. They knew it would be accepted, and they know me as a person, and they know if that wasn't the case, there's no way they could ever do that to me again, so we'll watch that. There are people that you call leaky mediums, and if you want to be aware of the spirit world, to be giving contacts every second and minute of the day, wherever you are. If there's somebody who does want to communicate, then they'll take the opportunity, And then you also got to look. If you look, there's a lot of those type of programs called Street Psychic. So, are we talking about how much is the information psychic readings? Because the shows are called psychic, So we can. It's easy to give anybody a psychic reading up in the street or whatever,
Very true. Okay. Wow. You've given me so much to think of. I don't normally re-listen to my shows, but I'm going to be re-listening to this one and have to block out my own voice. Is there anything that you want to continue to do? Is there a further place that you want to go to?
Yes and no. I love demonstrating medium. Actually, I probably don't do as many demonstrations as I would like to. Don't have time because most of my time's taken up teaching. But actually, what I would like to do again is because at the beginning of my journey, I actually I started in the healing first. And I thoroughly enjoyed that, and I was quite happy to stay in the healing. Like I said, it wasn't that I was looking that I wanted to be a sitting medium and a demonstrating medium, but because it manifested strongly, and I did start doing the communication side, it meant I wasn't able to continue with the healing on a regular basis because I couldn't see clients on a regular basis. So I think when it starts time for me to slow down, living out of a suitcase, running, traveling here, there, and everywhere, I think I really would like to go back to the healing and also deep in the passive and the altered state for the healing. It's really a very important part of our work as mediums, but I would like to focus eventually back on that again one day.
It's funny that you said healing, because a lot of people have to put people in boxes. They need labels as to, like you said, psychic medium, evidential medium, different kind of psychic healer. Different. Everyone has to have a box, or put you into a box, give you a label. And I have always found that the simplest label for me is to be called a healer, because, and I think what we do in general as psychics and mediums and healers, whether it's Reiki, crystals, or whatever, everyone is a healer because they do give healing of some form or another, whether it's physical or spiritual. So I think,
it's all healing, and even not just in the field you said. It can be somebody who's got a wonderful musical ability that can have a healing effect on somebody. You know, it's all about healing in whatever way, making somebody feel good, feeling whole again, whether it's mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. It's all about healing.
It is. It is. I just wish some people would understand that a little better.
And I think what we've got to remember, not one is more important or lesser than the other.
True. I think it doesn't. It doesn't matter the title that you give yourself. It's what your heart feels, what your soul feels, and to me, it's all. It works.
I think the thing is sometimes we use some sort of titles which I feel is a little bit confuses the general public who've got no knowledge of what we are about. I had this sort of debate on Facebook. You might have seen it, and I know it upsets a lot of people. I said, people stop advertising themselves as psychic medium. I said, at least why not call yourself either spiritual medium, or if you want to use the word psychic medium, put psychic and medium. Because the general public don't know the difference between working on the mediumistic level as a spiritual medium to the psychic level. And saying psychic medium classes it as one thing, even though we can be both things. So I said, why not put psychic and medium, or medium and psychic? So people, it starts education the public that there's the two aspects.
Very true.
I mean, it upset a few people, and nobody could go along with me on it, but for me, it's just education to the general public. Yes, we all understand who are already involved and know about the subject.
Exactly.
But we've got to look at the general public who know nothing.
Yeah, I think it's one thing,
Because otherwise, that general public who knows nothing decides they want to read it. Well, if the see psychic medium, it may be they want a psychic reading, it may be they want an evidential contact, but saying psychic medium, it's not really telling them what they're going to be getting,
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons why I do this show, because I want people to understand who people are and the knowledge that you have. You're not here to teach people, but you're teaching them just by having a conversation and people listening, and they understand that there is that difference, and right. What the difference is. So yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it's like we spoke earlier about learning from Gordon, chatting and conversations. We went along in the car. It's like us chatting now. It's teaching in one way, but not in a formal sense. So it might just inspire something, trigger something in one sentence I've said, or one subject we spoke about, for them to sort of like inquire or look in that channel and look at things or something in another way or another mindset, so then they become then, in a way, searching and finding the answer for themselves, in the way Gordon made us find the answer for ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. I think a good teacher just gives you, plants the seed, and you have to add the fertilizer and add the water and that everything to make it grow. So that's the knowledge that we have to find, that we have to search for ourselves. And as irritating as it is, because I have this horrible thing that's called the instant gratification disease. I when I want to know something, I want to know it now. So when somebody tells me, okay, this is, I have a question, and they just give me the seed, then I have to go searching, and it makes me a little bit crazy, because I want to know now. Even if it means I have to search it myself, I still want to know. I've discovered that asking for a yes or no question to the universe and to spirit and to the divine, it doesn't always work out that way. And some people still want, am I going to move? It's not a yes or no question, but it's not a yes or no answer that they're going to get. They're going to get something that's going to, make them work for what they have to do. You can't just sit there and go, am I going to move? Yes, you're going to move. I'm going to move from this room to the next room.
No. This is the charitable Paul, the dry, very dry, sarcastic sense of humour. And this one young girl, she must have only been 17, 18, I had her sitting, and at the end, I don't like people to ask questions in the sitting. I like to see that they're answered naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Then if there's a question I was hoping I'd answer, I haven't answered it, then I'll ask them at the end. But I always say, don't give me the question in a yes or no answer, because it'll be pretty obvious which answer you want, yes or no. And tell me as little about the subject as possible. But this one young lady at the end, she says to me, she said, will I have a baby? So I said to her, I says, well, first of all, get yourself a boyfriend, and then you might have a baby. I couldn't help it. It was,
oh, yes, no. It's true. Because some people ask.
In the experience I've had, you'll be amazed at some of the questions some people ask you.
Well,
and also, what you've got to realise, if you are asked specific questions in the sitting, it's better at the end, okay? Because it's you have more confidence as the medium. The sitter will have more confidence if they're answered naturally without them actually telling you the question they've got. Okay, but also there are sometimes people will ask me a question and I will actually say, I'm not even prepared to try and answer it. It's too big a responsibility. I'm not prepared to take that responsibility, because if I'm wrong, that could mess your life up totally. And I said, if the answer had come naturally without me knowing you wanted to ask that question, then I would have given it.
Okay, yeah, like the Betty Boop.
Yeah, but it's you've got what we've got to always remember, and I'm conscious of. Yeah, I'll make mistakes. I'll get things wrong sometimes. Okay, but also what we've got to remember is that when I go to the spirit world, I'm going to be responsible for everything I've said in their name.
Mm-hmm.
So I might go to the spirit world and I might meet somebody's dad, and he's going to come and punch me on the face, and he says, you told my daughter this, that and the other, and I didn't at all, and that's messed her life up.
Yeah.
I think we've got to realise, and we've got to remember, sometimes some people come to us as a last resort, desperate, and you've actually got their life in your hands.
Yep.
And I think this is what we've got to realise. There's a big responsibility goes with what we do.
It's very true. Some people think that they need the answer from somebody else, though, and they already know the answer to the question. It's like I listened to many before I started my own show. I listened to many radio shows, and I used to love it when they would say, okay, call in and have your question ready. And it's funny, I could never do that, because every time I would ask a question, even if it was just in my mind, I would, okay, I'm going to ask, is the sky blue? I already know the answer.
But also, that's right, but something you just said earlier, it's like, I remember this, so I've always remembered this one. It's been many years ago. I was in the Italian part of Switzerland, this lady coming for a city, and as she walked in, I knew she'd come for me to tell her to leave her husband. I knew she'd made her mind up, and I knew she would be making a mistake, but she wouldn't listen to her.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to be careful how I worded that. I could have easily said, "Oh, you're leaving your husband," and then she would have done it, okay, and then thought I'd given her the permission that it was right for her to do, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And people like that, what they want, even though they've made up the mind what they want and what they're going to do, they want to hear it from somebody else.
Yep.
Like the psychic. Because then if it doesn't work out, they can blame somebody else instead of themselves.
Very much so. Yeah, exactly. I think we have someone typing a question in the chat room. But yeah, no, I think it's like when people ask you questions. For me, I give what I call Mama D sense. Somebody says, "Oh, what should I do about such and such?" Well, what I do is I show the person what I call both sides of the fence. Well, if you do this, this will happen. If you can do this, and this will happen. So now you have to choose which way you're going with it. It's not, it's not 100%. And even that, it's only my sense. It's not my, it's not written in stone.
You see, I like, like say for an example, which would happen quite often. So I might give a lady a sitting, and at the end she'll say, "I'll say, is there anything you want to ask?" And she might say, might want to ask a question about one of the children. Yeah. So I'd rather just say, I'd rather just say, "Can you tell me something about my son?"
Mm-hmm.
Rather than say, "Can you tell me about my son's health?" or "Can you tell me about my son's education?"
Yeah. Generalization.
So then if I can tell the mother that it's the education, and then I can get the background story, then it will help come with the answer. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So even when they ask a question, I don't want to know the detail.
Yeah.
I want to know about my children, or I want to know about my child, but I don't want them to tell me why.
Yeah, exactly. Give a generalization.
To find out why. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Comment in the chat room. I'm going to read it out loud. It's just it's kind of sort of for me, but Darlene, I needed to tell you. Told Christy and I, her daughter, and were stripping the baby's car seat, and she says that quite often the baby makes faces that reminds her of her grandmother on her father's side. And as they were speaking of this, a dragonfly flew around the corner of the car and landed on the woman's shoulder. This is not really a question, just a comment.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I could talk about it. I mean, what we've got to look at, there's two aspects, okay? It could be that...
And do you believe that the grandmother comes through with the dragonfly?
I'll be honest,
but sends.
There's a lot of mediums into that sort of thing. It's not my cup of tea. I'll be honest with you. Even like this, like when they say, "Oh, we found a feather. It's a sign from the spirit world." I'm not particularly into that sort of thing myself. Okay, but if it makes me feel good and comforts them, then for me to deny it, But for myself individually, it's not my cup of tea.
Okay. I think for her it makes a difference.
If it's fine for her, makes her feel comfortable and good, then that's fine. It's good. It's but for myself in my own life, things like that I don't take as a sign for myself.
Okay.
But it's not for me to deny anybody else that if that feel.
As you said, it made her feel good, which she just said. I made me feel good, which is true.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, but also what we've got to, I look at. I believe that we can also inherit memory genes. We can inherit mannerisms, expressions from generations, and it is not just the last generation, before several generations. It's like me. I mean, on one side of my family is the Jewish people, and ever from a child, I've always, even now, I do the hand expression in the way the Jewish people do when they talk, even though I haven't seen any of my family doing that, my living family doing that. But I think it's just a trait that's inherited in that mannerism from my background, from the ancestors.
That's true. We get connection we have connections to the past, no matter how far past they are, and sometimes it doesn't actually have to be direct connection.
But but I think what I'd like to say, I'd like to tell people, our family, if they loved us when they were here, they're still going to be from the spirit world, and they will always
most definitely
that bond. And at times, if it's possible to give us a little sign in some way, they will do. It might be you just have, like my mum, who even like before I got into this, used to say, "Your dad was here tonight," and I'll say, "How do you know?" She said, "I could smell it." Not an aftershave, but we've all got our own particular odour, and she recognised his odour. That was his little way. Other people, so it may be suddenly you turn because as if you felt that there's somebody standing behind you, or excuse me, my throat's gone.
Okay.
Hand on your shoulder. There's lots of little ways that they can let us know there. Yeah. But I would say to
it's
anybody,
like I know when my dad's. Go ahead.
But for people who want to develop mediumship, don't go into developing mediumship just because you want it for personal contact with your own loved ones.
Very true. Very true.
No.
Well, it is the end of the show. I think that's what your cough is trying to tell me. It's like, shush, darling.
It's 2:30 in the morning.
I know, and I thank you very much for staying up this late.
I've got the third and last day of my German progressive group at 9:30 in the morning. So
thank you then very, very much for staying up this late with me. And I would love to have you back anytime. But we'll make sure that it's a little earlier.
Okay. I've thoroughly enjoyed speaking to you. I hope the people who joined us have managed to find something in it.
I'm sure they did.
Good.
I'm sure they did. Well, I thank Carrie, David, Diane, Jennifer's Journey, Larry, Tracy, and everybody. Have a lovely evening. And it's time for me to go have dinner. Thank you, Paul, very, very much.
Can I just quickly ask, will people be able to see this or listen to it on Facebook? Or
yes. Everybody, go ahead.
Yeah, like tomorrow. People could listen to it tomorrow. Would it be there recording?
Yeah, I will have the link and I will post it. I'll give you the link in Skype so that you get to have it. But I always post it on Facebook.
Okay, that's wonderful. That's great. That's wonderful. Perfect. Thank you, darling, and enjoyed and enjoy the rest of your evening. It's not your bedtime yet, but it's certainly okay.
Well, you have a good night's sleep. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everybody, for coming to the show. We'll see you all next week.
All the best to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.